نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Last time we had started talking about the three ways that an individual can fall into arrogance and where they stem from, why those are problematic and why that's an issue. And once an individual understands where these things stem from, it becomes a lot easier to battle them, and it becomes a lot easier to fight them. One of the things that he mentions, he spends time talking about, is that envy further leads to denial of truth. Why is that? It's up to it. Doesn't matter. Is it if you feel distracted, go ahead and close it.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. What was the question?
So over here, he says that envy further leads to denial of truth. Why is that? What happens? Should maybe turn these front lights off.
I feel like envy also comes in line with like stubbornness.
Okay. Why is that? Is that better?
Because you like believe like that you deserve something.
Okay.
And, like it's not really something you're gonna stop, and then I don't know, it brings out a certain honestly bad traits that come along with it.
Sure. So he mentions that the reason that like these are the things that basically pride stems from. Right? He talks about ujub, self-admiration, malice and envy. He kind of pairs these in riyat. And it's basically all of them stem from this idea of being deserving. Right? If I feel I'm deserving of something, then what happens when I don't get it? Right? I get upset. And and that deserving it can also be projected. So for example, if somebody gets a car or a job or position or marries someone and I feel a certain type of way, why do I feel that way? Because I feel I'm more deserving, than that person, right? Like I actually want to take it away from them. And sometimes we do things out of riyat. And riyat is another type of projection. So if I'm trying to show that I'm a certain type of person, the reason is because there's a lot of self-insecurity that we might have ourselves. So what I do is I project because I think that this personality that I'm creating is deserving of that attention. Does that make sense? So but basically they're just different packages and wrappings around this idea of being deserving. And that's what makes a lot of this stuff so dangerous. And he talks about sorry, I didn't go far enough. Yeah, it gets to a point where this person who I feel is less deserving than I am, and we had said that one of the strongest signs of arrogance is the moment that we create that differentiation, right? The moment that there's myself and the other, right? The moment I create the other, I've now fallen into arrogance and I've fallen into pride. And he says that envy can actually lead to somebody denying the truth. And why is that? Why is that the case? What happens? Maybe. If there's somebody I'm envious of, why would I not listen to them? Yes?
It's hard to accept.
Okay. Yes. Very good. Why? If somebody's coming to me, right? Because this person, remember we already decided that this person is what? Less than. Right? In the moment that the less than speaks to me, what happens?
You're less than.
Right? And if I have to expect, so here, if the person is less than, and I accept what they have to say, what happens to me? Right? Then all of a sudden it levels up, and now I have to recognize what? I have to recognize my own shortcoming, and I have to recognize my own fault. And that's why this is so dangerous, right? The moment that we create this differentiation, either whether it be through self-love, hatred toward others, even hatred of myself in trying to create this personality, all of these are extremely problematic because, again, it just falls around this idea of deserving. And it's very dangerous. This is this thing that it breaks relationships very clearly, right? Whether that relationship be with myself, right, like is in the case of riyat, or it might be in the case of jealousy, my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my relationship with others. Right? And so he talks about, okay, well, these are where these things stem from. And if I'm able to identify where it stems from, how does that help? Like he's spending time discussing these things. Okay, why does it matter?
Self-awareness.
Okay, so, and if I have that self-awareness, what can I do? Right now I can actually improve, because if I can determine where it's stemming from, it allows me actually to hone in and figure out how do I manage this and how do I deal with it. So if I'm just in love with myself, that's going to be a very different treatment than somebody who is jealous of another. Does that make sense? So if I identify, where the problem is stemming from, it becomes a lot easier to actually solve that problem and to overcome it. And that's the idea behind a lot of these discussions. In Islam, I would say Islam is very, it's more solution-oriented than problem-oriented. And what are some good examples of that? How come we don't spend a lot of time talking about our problems? Right, because it actually inflates the problem. And if I inflate the problem, what happens in that situation? Right, you start to actually feel overwhelmed. So if we sit down and if we're just constantly talking about the problem and constantly kind of recycling that and rehashing it, that problem, it went from being this big to now this big. And then the next time I talk about it, it becomes this big. And then I talk about it, it becomes this big. And then what happens? Then all of a sudden I will now have to medically soothe myself to help manage and deal with that problem, because all I'm doing is what I'm figuring out ways to manage and deal with the problem. I'm actually not coming up with what solutions. Does this mean so pharmacopsychology, does it have a role? Yeah, I think it does, but does it have as much of a role as it's placed in society today? I don't believe so. And that's what makes it so we see it. The amazing thing is with the rise of psychology, we've also seen the rise of pharmaceutical drugs, right? There's a very direct correlation that's there. What has actually been solved? Very, very little, right? If anything, the most that's happening is people are just being placated. I think having awareness is important, right? I think it's great that we've reached a point now where it's okay, hey, listen, these are some problems and issues that are in society. I just think the way that they're being managed is very poor. And a lot of this stuff does stem from this. How many of you heard oh, I need a mental health day? Yeah? Who gave any one of us the authority or the right to decide what is good for my mental health? Does that make sense? Right, so will I go and eat at a particular restaurant saying no, I'm going to do this because this is good for my health? Am I in a position to really to really decide that? I think we all can have some input in these things, and I think that's fair. But at the end of the day, if I truly want to improve my diet and I want to do this, who should I speak to? Specialists. Mm-hmm. Yes? Because they'll have a better idea on how to manage that. It's oh, I need to do this, or I need to... I think there's a lot of self-diagnosis that's happening in the space. And self-diagnosis is just leading to more problems, and it's leading to more issues, and it's leading to less solutions. And the other problem is okay, we talk about going to specialists. What incentive does the specialist have to cure me? To cure. What is the incentive? Huh? There isn't any, right? I want to develop a long-term relationship with this client. Why? Right? This is my stream of income. And unfortunately, I would say in the counseling, therapy, life coaching field, all I've become is paid friends. And it's unfortunate, right? It's really unfortunate. Okay, it's friends are free. You don't have to, you know what I mean? It shouldn't cost money. And if it's causing money, what's happening to that dynamic now? It's actually becoming skewed. And that's what makes these things dangerous. So listen, just like a mechanic, I don't think there's anything wrong, and I actually encourage seeking therapy and counseling and help, but make sure you have someone who's helping you set goals, right? That's always important. And why can I say that? Because if you go talk to a nutritionist or a dietitian or somebody or a fitness trainer, what is the first thing that they're going to do with you? They're going to set goals. So if I'm just going to someone and they're not setting any goals for me, are they looking out for my best interest? Right? And that's what makes it a problem. That's what makes it an issue. And part of it does stem from this. Part of it stems from pride. Because I'm creating, remember we talked about Ihya and showing off? right? I'm trying to create a personality that is deserving. And what am I doing? I'm looking for other people to validate that for me. And it's really dangerous. And what are some of the tools that we have available for us that it's much easier to seek validation today that maybe we didn't have as prevalent in the past? Sure, a little bit. So ChatGPT. So yeah, so people self-diagnose, and then what do they start using? They start using tools like ChatGPT to be their therapist. Right? That's one way. What's another way? That's more common.
Ranting to friends.
Okay. And where is the best place for me to rant to friends and I get immediate validation? Social media. Social media is not a bad thing. I think social media is amazing, personally. But if I'm getting on there and I'm just venting and voicing complaints and voicing issues, and I have all these people double tapping on me, how does that make me feel about my complaints? That they're valid. Denial of truth, I put this veil over my eyes, and I'm refusing to accept the truth. And it's hard. And I'm like, and when I'm seeking social validation, I can be like, well, how can, because the response is always going to be, how can all these people be wrong? Right? Like we think that. I don't think it's an unnatural thought. Right? If everybody's taking a particular highway, am I really the smart one to take that side road? Right? You know what I mean? Like I think there are certain cases and places where that generally does apply, genuinely. But I think there are situations where it doesn't. And a lot of that has to do with introspection, because at the end of the day, somebody who, here, let me put it this way. If someone came to you and they're like, hey, I'm having this problem with my business partner, and they just talk and they're like, he's doing this and he's doing this and he's doing that, what is the immediate red flag that should go off in my heart?
Did you tell him?
Maybe. It's like, hey, listen, did you talk to him? Yeah, I talked to him. He's such an idiot. You know, he just keeps wasting all the money, da 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 da. Something else.
What about you?
I'm sorry?
What about you? Like, what do you?
What have I done? I haven't done anything wrong. I've been like, you know, I've been keeping track of my finances. I've been doing X, Y, Z, da, da, da. Something else. Something even easier. And I think you guys are overlooking it.
Why?
I'm sorry? I'm sorry? Not necessarily, right? I might be right in my vantage point, right? In my perspective. But what is not being done in this conversation?
You don't hear the other.
That's it. I haven't heard the other side. If you're asking me to make a judgment call without what?
Without all the data.
Without all the information.
Yeah.
Is that being fair? No. And if a person is doing that, what are they seeking? They're actually seeking validation. So if I'm a good friend, what is the first thing that I should do? I can empathize with that person. Hey, if it happened like that, right? If I put that clause, I say, hey, if it happened like that, I'm sorry, right? And that person is going to feel, they'll feel validated. And if I have any advice that I can give them, now they're open to listening and hearing that advice. The second thing I can ask, would you like me to are you telling me because you'd like me to get involved? Right? No, man, I'm just venting. Oh, okay. You know, I'm sorry you had to go through that. That's it. Conversation's over. Make things easy. Well, yeah, I know. I just want you to tell me if am I right or not. At this point, what do I do? I can't. Why, bro? I just told you, like, you don't trust me? You're going to tell them, no, I don't trust you?
I would.
It's because it's not about trust. It's about perspective. Yes or no? It's not about trust. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 So you can tell them in a way, it's like, listen, I can't dismiss your perspective. And if it happened like that, I'm sorry. Right? That's the most I can say. It's like, but if you want me to tell you you're objectively right, I can't do that. Right? I'm not being fair to the situation. I'm not being fair to the other person. Because at the end of the day, even if the other person is 95% wrong, it's like, okay, well, you're 5%, you had a 5% contribution to that too. Yes?
Sometimes it's kind of hard to disagree and commit with someone like that.
What do you mean?
Like being able to be like, maybe I don't agree with like everything, you know? And you just kind of keep those thoughts to yourself. I'll tell you a bit of context. Like sometimes, like I tend to beat around the bush,
Okay.
and I'm like, sometimes it's hard to be like blunt. Like, listen, I don't really know the other side, you know?
Sure. Why? Why is it hard to?
It's hard to. It's
So,
like hard to accept.
so here, I don't. I think sometimes we confuse blunt with meanness. Like, there's a difference between being honest, right, and being hurtful, and like malicious. I should say that. I wouldn't say that. Can I be honest with a kind delivery? I can. Will the other person like it? Probably not, right? And I'm saying, are there situations, because what you're trying to be is you're trying to be nice, right? In being nice, why do we want to be nice? Because we're trying to protect the other person's feelings. That's not my job. Yes?
The second thing is sometimes, like, when I'm talking to people, I feel like it's like a denial of the truth. It's like they just won't listen. So
Sure.
Like, I just don't even bother sometimes.
I'm saying
like,
that's a secondary situation. So if I have somebody who I feel is just entrenched in whatever their ideas are, whatever their thoughts are, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us very clearly, وَإِذَا خَاطَبَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا سَلَامًا, that whenever an individual acts ignorantly, my job is to what? To disengage.
Yeah.
And acting ignorant can be somebody who's being insulting, somebody who's just like, they're not even willing to hear another idea. Like I've had people, or I've had conversations like, no, I'm not trying to hear that. No, I don't want to hear that. It's like, oh, so you were just looking to come and preach at me and leave? Right? And it's like, no, I'm saying, which is fine. I didn't invite myself into that conversation. And if that's something you'd like to do, I'm not interested in what you're selling. The first is more problematic. The second one is fine, right? Disengaging from conversation, I think this is a very healthy way of dealing with people who are acting ignorant. But being nice, why it is not my job to protect other people's feelings, it is my job to be respectful. Right? These are two different things. Because when I'm protecting other people's feelings, what I'm not doing is I'm actually not protecting them from being actually hurt. If there's a regular route that somebody drives on every single day, and I'm like, and I know that this person loves that route, and I know that that route is closed. I just came from there. And I drove back, hey, what's going on? How's everything? It's like, oh, how's the road? Oh, it's really beautiful. Right? Why did I say that? It is beautiful, right? Like, I'm not lying. So it's like, well, why am I saying that? How come I'm not telling them that the road is closed? Because I want to protect their feelings. And why do I want to protect their feelings? I'm actually not protecting their feelings. I'm trying to protect myself from the response. And this is a type of pity, right? So pitying is a gown of arrogance. Why? Because I'm putting my emotions in front of the truth.
This is a bit of a tangent right here, but it's like sometimes like you need to convince someone, and it's sometimes just really challenging.
Why do you need to convince them?
It's like family situations. I'm really
No, I'm saying even with families, like, again, we have to learn when to step away. I don't need to convince anyone of anything. The only being that I need to convince is myself.
But sometimes, like, I feel like one person might step away more than the other, and like,
even if it's to their own detriment.
Yeah.
Because where does my responsibility fall? My responsibility falls on me and my family, my children, right? Does it make sense for me to parent my parents? Right? Think about that. Just like, just think about that. Like, it's not my job to parent my parents. And if I think that I'm deserving, why? Because I know better. Think about, like, just think of that as the mindset. Well, I know better than them. Well, they lived a good portion of their lives without me, right? And they're clearly still alive, and they're still, they're functional, and they have all this. Okay, is it ideal? Is it the way I would have carried things out? Is this? No, it's not necessary for that. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We don't want others to be hurt. Like, I'm saying, like, malicious. Like, we're not malicious. Like, we shouldn't be malicious. But we have to learn to be honest. I had someone describe. I'll get to you. I had someone describe to me what is the difference between being nice and being kind. Being nice is not telling you you have something in your teeth. Being kind is. Yes.
So how do you sometimes you get emotionally
Invested.
invested
Yeah.
in people, maybe because it's let's just say your relatives.
You should.
Somebody you care about as telling you they're being hurt or
Mhm.
something is going through,
Yeah, yeah.
and naturally from the story they're telling you, you just want to okay, well this is not right or this is wrong or is that taking is that without seeing the other perspective, even though that's what
No, that's fine. Listen, if somebody's scammed, right, in your family,
yeah.
are you going to feel? You're going to feel hurt. It's like, oh man, that's terrible. Like, I'm not going to go to the scammer and be like, hey, can you tell me a little bit about you know what I mean? Like, there's certain situations where it's like that's not necessary. But in the situation where he's scammed, it's like, man, you really feel hurt and you really feel upset, and they're like, man, I need some money because I was taken advantage of. A lot of times, what are we willing to do? Help, right? We're willing to help. If I'm not in a financial situation, what is the kind thing for me to do? Right, just be honest and be like, hey, listen, I'm really sorry that happened to you. Unfortunately, I'm not in a situation where I can really help. Okay, what if this is the 5th time that the person has been scammed? And I'm in a financial situation to help now. What do I do? Right? And be like, hey, listen, I'm sorry that happened to you. Unfortunately, I'm not in a position to help financially. But if you need anything else, right? Again, so what can I do? If I want to help with the situation, and the person has been abusive or they have shown recklessness, I can now set the terms of help. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And if they reject it, then what? It's okay, right? I'm saying I will help you, but because you have shown I don't want to use the word incompetence, but because you've shown, because you've lost my trust in your financial decision making or your medicinal decision making or your transport, driving a car, whatever the case is, you've lost my trust in this. If you want my help, then I have to dictate the terms. Does that help? And why is that? Because now you're actually taking steps to protect them, and why they have failed the trust test. And this is something I'm still good at, right? Because I'm not judging the person, I'm judging their ability in this specific, right? In this specific way. I'm not saying oh, hey, listen, I'm going to feed you now, right? That's not what I'm doing. I still trust you to eat, and I still trust you to take care of your diet. But in this particular aspect, when it comes to driving, I'm sorry, you've lost my trust. Your license has been revoked 3 times, right? You know what I mean? It's hey, I'm sorry, I can't trust you to drive anymore. Yes?
I'm curious of this scenario. Let's say, is it kindness to tell someone, hey, I think you might be being, might be a bit, or you're showing signs of arrogance, right? Is it kind to say that if we think they're going to either close to, let's say,
I think,
of learning that a
Sure.
hard way?
sure. So I think there's a kinder way to say it,
Yeah, okay.
right?
Yeah.
So it's all about delivery, right? A lot of times, I think understanding how to get people's guard down is step 1, right? That's the first thing. And how do I do that? By building a relationship with them, right? Are you going to walk up to someone and be like, hey, I think you're really being arrogant right now? It's like, bro, you're just going to be like, yo, you don't even know me. Who are you? Yes? The way I like to frame it for some people is like, do you feel that's the most humble response? Right? Because it's the opposite of arrogant. It's like, so are you doing this out of humility? Right? And again, it's just kind of a way to disarm people. And sometimes, instead of focusing on the problem, okay, well, what would I like instead? And I think that's a very powerful way of framing things. Right? It's like, okay, I don't want this from this person. I'm sure we hear that. It's like, I don't want him to do this, and I don't want her to talk like that, and I don't want to do that. Okay, let's reframe the whole thing. What would you like instead? It's a very simple way. And it's a very powerful tool. Well, I know I don't want this, and I know I don't want that. Okay, well, what would you like instead? It causes, it seriously causes us to kind of rewire our brains. Because remember how we talked about we shouldn't be problem focused? What does it instead do? it actually creates a goal to work toward. And it helps frame things for us. Because sometimes it's very difficult to frame things. Yes?
One thing I like to like implement when I'm having these kind of conversations, whether they're like difficult or even not difficult, sometimes you just need to know like just next steps.
Yeah.
Like, what's my plan? Like,
What's the game plan? Yeah.
like, what's my
100%.
plan like, this week? Like, how am I going to improve whatever situation I'm in?
Goal setting.
Yeah.
Remember we talked about this. It's the same thing, right? It doesn't matter who we're talking to. There has to be goal setting.
Yeah.
And if goal setting isn't happening, that means I'm not working toward anything. I'm just spinning my wheels. And if I'm just spinning my wheels, then okay, what am I doing? Oh, I recognize this is a problem. It's like, okay, that's fine, right? No, nobody's, that's great. What are you doing about it? Okay, so what is the problem of getting in the problem, like being stuck in the problem recognition stage? Remember we talked about, oh, I need a mental health day, or I need this, or I need that. I recognize that this is a problem. Why is it an issue if I stay here? Okay, well, how do I get someone out of that? Or here, it's not my job to get them out of it, but how can I help someone who's in that situation? Or maybe I'm in that situation.
Gratitude.
Okay, being thankful for what?
Life.
Sure, how does that help me with the problem though? Okay.
I feel like just perspective in general. You know, like a lot of times we have these crazy problems, and it's like, well, you know, we're still doing pretty well. We're breathing, we're healthy, we're in America.
So I'm saying that I think distraction is a good way, like in understanding and kind of balancing that out. I'll say this: in this situation, a spiritual reminder is the strongest. So basically, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala gave you insight into that problem and into that issue, and you decided to do nothing about it. What is going to happen to me in front of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala? Can I have an excuse? Can I be like, oh, I didn't know? Oh, I didn't recognize it? And can we go through life and are there things that we might not necessarily recognize? Right? There are things that we overlook, things we recognize. Sometimes, how many of us have gone through like whatever stage we are in our life and we still learn something new? Right? It's normal. It happens. But in this situation where I recognize the problem, what excuse do I have now? How do I respond to that? How can I have this information and stand confidently in front of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala? Right? That's the danger in that. It's like, okay, no, I know this is a problem, but I'm going to continue. It's like, wait, what? And this could be with substance abuse, it can be with attitudes, it can be with so many things that are happening in our life. You can be like, oh, I have this bad relationship. Yeah, I don't care about this. It's like, okay, but that relationship is one that's important. Like, figure out, and someone might be like, okay, well, what do I do with the relationship? Either forgive or hold the person accountable in front of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. You can't be in the middle. Because either way, there has to be some sense of release, right? And what is release? Release looks like, you know what? I trust Allah to take care of this. Right? That's one type of release. Another one is like, you know what? I'm not going to ask my right from this person. Like that's the release that's there. Right? This is why forgiveness is so important. Right? Either a person forgives or they trust Allah. Right? These are the only two choices we have. We don't have sitting there and stewing over it and staying angry and staying upset. Oh, this person hurt me, this person took advantage of me, or this happened to me, or my car broke down. Like, okay, holding on to all those things, what does that do? What value does that bring to our lives? And at the end of the day, if I keep acting on those things because I'm angry, what happens to my reward? It's gone. Why? Because my intention is completely skewed. Instead of me doing it happily for Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, now I'm doing something maliciously. Either I'm trying to hurt someone, or I'm trying revenge, or I'm trying to get back at someone. Because my emotion is so important. Because my anger is so important. Because what this person did to me was so, am I really that important? It's amazing how humility can cure so many of these problems and so many of these issues. And how it can help cure the relationship we have with ourselves, with others, with Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So he starts talking about some of the manners of the arrogant, and some people argue just for the sake of arguing. So I think there are, that can be broken down. Are there some people who enjoy the art of debating?
Yeah.
Right?
It's like pretty popular on like online, like
Yeah.
oh rage debating. Like, this guy loves rage debating.
That's it.
No,
It's
but
not even different.
but no,
It's like
it's a little bit different because what do they enjoy about that?
getting the other person upset.
Right? Getting like it's basically drawing the emotion out of someone, and it's not just that. There's an additional layer to it that is probably more important than all of this.
Superiority arrogance.
Entertainment. That's it. Do you think these people are sincere in whatever it is that they think?
No, they're just trolling.
They're just trolling, man. Like a lot of time, listen. The moment a person gets behind a camera, there's a great chance that this person is an actor. No, I'm saying, listen. Even when you have people like who are teaching, is there not an element of presentation and education and entertainment that's there? It has to be, right? Otherwise, the content is not what? It's not engaging. Are you not entertained? Right? Like so, that element has to be there, right? That element is something that's really important. Now, how sincere that person is or isn't, that's between them and Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. But are these necessary components of a public display and a public presentation? 100%. And it doesn't matter what you're doing, right? It can be in a religious context. It can be in a secular context. It doesn't make a difference. But at the end of the day, we have to understand that person behind the camera, if their sole intention can be just to entertain others, and is that person behind the camera the 100% actual real representation of who that person and that individual is? No, they're not. Right? And my teaching persona is going to be very different than my khatib persona. My khatib persona is going to be very different than my hiking persona, right? My hiking persona is going to be very different than my building persona, right? Like, does that fundamentally make me a different person? No, right? Like, I am still who I am, but because there's a level of trust that is associated with each of these positions, each of them that trust has to be fulfilled in a meaningful way. And I know sometimes we think of wearing different caps, like, oh, okay, is that not hypocritical? Hypocrisy is if there's inconsistency in the messaging. But how the message is delivered, why does that matter? It's like, oh, well, when he's talking to Christians, he's talking like this. Okay, but when he's talking on the minbar, he's talking like this. When he's in the classroom, he talks like this. When he's with his friends, he talks like that. Okay, is there a difference in the messaging? Or is there a difference in the delivery? I can argue even the Prophet ﷺ had difference in his delivery. The way he was with the close companions was very different than he was when he was on the minbar. So I would argue that's wisdom. Should I talk to a child the same way that I talk to my parent? That I'm going to talk to a coworker? That I talk to a friend? That I talk to someone who I pray? Right? Come on, I think it's important to be logical with those things. And if I'm unchanged in all of these settings, then that shows a lot. That's not something to be proud of. That shows a lack of wisdom in me. It's like I'm talking to a child the same way that I'm talking to this, or I'm talking to this person. Oh man, it's not wisdom. It's actually very unwise. So there's some people who do it for the love of the game, right? Who just enjoy the art of debate, and there's some people their goal is to win. And that doesn't apply just to debating. It can apply to so many things in life. And why is that a problem? Why is that an issue? If a person only has a win mindset.
Not a growth mindset.
I'm sorry?
Not a growth.
It's not a growth mindset. Okay. Well, why is it like if I want to win, I want to get to Jannah, right? I want to win. Why is that a problem? Or how is that different?
Well, that would be a great thing, right?
To get to Jannah? Yes.
I aspire to Jannah, right?
When I hear
May Allah make us from Ahl Jannah. I mean,
when I hear like one mindset, it's not like, oh, like I want to go to Jannah. Like, that's not necessarily the definition of winning for everybody.
okay, that's fine. But I'm saying, why is it a problem to have a win mindset? When it's a zero-sum game, right? In order for me to win, what? Someone has to lose. That's where it's a problem. Why? Because it's malicious. Somebody has to get hurt. Like in order for me to succeed, somebody else has to be hurt. In order for me to get to paradise, somebody else has to go to hellfire. That's not how that works. It's not a zero-sum game. It's actually a growth game. Okay.
Most worldly things are zero-sum games. Jannah is the only thing that's not, right?
It can be, right? So here, if there's 2 people applying for the same job, or 5 people, how many people are going to get that job? All right, only 1. Meaning that other 4 people, they lost in getting that job, but did they lose at life? Right? No, you know what I mean? Like, so I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I think there are enough avenues for people to be successful in different ways without being, like, again, the idea is not to be malicious, right? So if I have 5 people who are applying for the same job, what should I be doing? I'm one of the applicants. Where should my efforts be? In tearing everybody, oh no, I'm sorry, yes. Right? In what? In exemplifying, in honing, in presenting what? My skill set, in my ability, in why I'm deserving. I should not be spending my time doing what? Right, trying to undermine everyone else. So that's where it's an issue. Are there people who operate like that? 100%. What is my job? What should I do? I know that there are bad actors that are out there. There are people who are malicious out there. There are people who are out to get me and undermine me. How should I treat them? How? I'm sorry? Huh? Second Amendment. That escalated so quickly. Not in Virginia anymore. We still got July? Okay. Alhamdulillah. Allah protect us all. I mean, what do I do? I know that there's malicious people out there. That's exactly what it is. Don't engage. When it comes to things like magic, envy, evil eye, bad and malicious actors that I don't know about, or even if I do know about, do I know what they're planning and they're scheming? Why do I need to worry about it? All of that is considered unseen. And when things are unseen, what do? I have to rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I turn to the Lord of the unseen. Right? Like, if I have somebody who's trying to rob me, yeah, I can pull my gun out, right, to stop them. Am I going to do that to shaitan? Right? I can't do that. So what do? I turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's all I can do. And what is the second thing I should do? Right? So if I turn to Allah and I say, yeah, you know what? I'll do my ma'wadhatain, I'm doing my azkar, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to, I'm making my prayers on time, I'm engaging with the Quran. This is all the stuff I'm supposed to do spiritually. Logistically and practically, what do I do? That's it. Just keep moving. That's all I have to do. Because if I get caught up in like, oh, well, you know, he's planning this and she's thinking that and blah, 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 what am I going to accomplish? Nothing. I'm going to keep spinning my wheels because I'm actually giving them power when in reality there is none. Because if those people were able to bring me down, okay, well, why am I still here? Right? Like if they actually had that power and that ability, like, why does it matter? And there's so many people who get so caught up in so many of these things. Right? It's like, oh, you know, we as Muslims, like we can't advance because of the Jews and because of America and the West and the Zionists and that. Really? Is that our biggest problem? No, being honest. Who's our greatest enemy? Ourselves. Right? It's always enough. Even the shaitan, what is he doing? He's doing no different than a lot of these different entities. Right? They're just whispering in our ear. Right? They're the ones who are handing out like the transgender pamphlets and, you know what I mean, like all of these other things that are running the pornography sites. It's like, okay, but who's watching it and who's reading the material and who's engaging in it? It's us. Like, who am I going to blame for that? It's like, okay, you know, you have these groups of people that make it accessible and available. All right, well, who told me to access it? Who told me to use it? I was having a conversation, and a young woman said to me, she's like, you know, I'm just really worried about this generation. And I was like, why do you say that? They're like, well, all this stuff is available to them and accessible to them in a way that it wasn't before. I was like, yeah, you're right. I agree with that. I was like, but I still don't think things are bad. And she was like, why do you say that? I said, because all the solutions to those problems and issues are just as available and just as accessible. I don't think that's the case. I think, could it be promoted better? Yeah, 100%, right? But I think all the stuff is generally promoted in a reasonable way. I think people don't actively look for it. So the thing is, someone might be like, oh, well, you know, the pornography sites and stuff like that is how in your face is it? Honestly. If I'm just using Google and stuff like that, like, listen, will I get like the random reel and something like that that's super inappropriate? Yeah, I will. But even that stuff is like, I would say it's very small in relationship to all of the other stuff that's showing up on my social media. So in order to get there, in order to get to that illicit material, what do I have to do? I have to engage. I have to take an active step. So if I understand that I have to take that active step, how difficult is it for me to look up Muslim counselor, right? Or to look up this and that, or solution for this? Who can I talk to about these things? I'm just one imam, right? And I have very limited hours available. Even with that, I not only do I get national appointments, I get international appointments. So not because I'm not an international figure. Nobody knows why, right? Like I'm known in like the DMV. That's it. And even the DMV, not the whole, not the whole DMV. So what is it that's causing people to connect and to reach out? Because they see a service and they take advantage of it. That's all. They're like, oh, here's a random imam who has an appointment calendar. Let me make an appointment with him. So again, I think the services are accessible and available. Can they be promoted better? 100%. I truly believe that. But I don't think that they're difficult to find. Yeah.
What about other examples like LGHDTV or, for example, obesity?
Yeah.
You see more commercials for McDonald's, Burger King, everything, but I've never seen or heard of any ads on the radio or even on
Sure.
scrolling for a gym membership or
Yeah.
forget a gym membership. You could go to your local elementary school and
Mhm.
go hang on monkey bars.
Yeah.
So like, those type of things I think are more promoted.
No. Listen, bad habits are always going to be more promoted. Easy, quick fixes are always going to be more promoted. Right? Yeah. Consumption is always going to be promoted. Positive messaging is never going to be pushed. Saying that, how many people look at these ads and they're like, that is the lifestyle that I need to be aiming for and living, right? In terms of being unhealthy, right? So even people who smoke, if you ask them like, hey, is smoking healthy? What are they going to say? They're going to be like, don't do it, right? It's not healthy, right? Yeah, you know what I mean? Like you have you have people who have different problems and issues, like, and they recognize that. Or having a promiscuous lifestyle, even people who are in that lifestyle, right? People who, like women who are on OnlyFans, and the damage that it's done to their lives and their professional lives and their personal lives and their social lives. Like these people, they understand, like even though those things are pushed and promoted in society, how come everybody isn't engaging in them? You can argue that a majority of Americans are unhealthy. I'm okay with that. Why aren't a majority of Americans, like 90% plus, obese? Why? Yeah, why aren't they? No, they're not. 90% of Americans are not obese, bro. So there's.
It's not necessarily someone that made it look obese. Obesity is also about your health and fitness.
So here, your standard of fitness might be higher than normal people's standard of fitness. It's like, yeah, if you're not going at least 3 hours a day, you're not going to the gym. Like, it's like I don't want to live at One Life, bro. Like, it's not called One Life because you spend your entire life there. So I'm saying, less. That's what I'm saying. So less than half of people are that. Why is that? Because people still recognize positive messaging, right? So you can translate that into different things. How come everybody doesn't steal? Stealing is easy. It's convenient. The laws have gotten such where like the threshold for them is even like, it's even in some places where it's like, okay, yeah, it's just a slap on the wrist and you're going to walk away. How come everybody doesn't steal? People are naturally inclined toward positivity. Like they're naturally inclined to that. You actually have to counter that and bombard them with so much negativity for it to even seep into society. Not embrace it as a whole. Even with all these McDonald's and Burger King, all of these different commercials, and you ask people like, okay, hey, listen, is having a fast food diet a healthy lifestyle? What are most people going to say? They say no, absolutely not. Again, why? Because positivity is something that's natural in the human being. You have to overwhelm it with negativity in order for it to seep into the population. It's not even accepted. Does that make sense? You guys following? Right? You have to have this overwhelming amount of negativity, overwhelming amount of shortcuts for some of the people to start doing it. So, I think I still truly believe that when there's positivity like available and readily available, just the presence of it is enough to counter a lot of that negativity. Just the presence. Should it be promoted in a better way? Yes, I believe that. But that just the presence of it, it gives pathways to counter a lot of those things. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and our families. The interesting thing that he mentions here is like, okay, even if you remove this person from society and you put them in a room by themselves, they're still going to be what? They're still going to be arrogant. That's how dangerous this is. It's like now I have no one to compare myself to, but I still am going to be in love, right? I'm still going to love myself. So he is saying over here that the solution is not what? Isolation. He's saying isolation is not the solution. Right? That's essentially what he's telling us here. That just is like, oh man, I'm so proud, I'm so arrogant, and like I need to become more humble. All right, let me isolate myself. Let me take a mental health day. That is not going to help. He says here that once an individual reaches that level and they reach that state, it doesn't matter. It's already too far gone, right? The disease is already too far gone to take that step to isolate oneself. Now, can I isolate myself to kind of recalibrate? Yeah, 100%, right? There's nothing wrong with that. It's like to kind of take stock. How long should that be? It shouldn't be extended. There's no reason for that. Like, do I need, no. Number one step, if I really truly want to fix myself and to fix my situation, what is the easiest, quickest, best thing that I could do?
Pray.
That's part of it. Because prayer is a tool. But there's always a spiritual tool, and there's usually an associated practical tool. What else? What else? You go to a spiritual counselor, right? That's what you do. You go to a mentor. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm just, it doesn't, I don't even have to. I remember someone had asked me like, oh, like lessening or making more counseling. I was like, bro, it doesn't matter. Like, I was like, you can make them 5, you can make it 40, it's going to fill up. There's just a demand, right? There's generally a demand. And I don't think that's a bad thing, because there are people who are seeking guidance, there are people who are seeking clarification, people seeking fatwa, and that service I think is very necessary. I just don't, but going to your point, Farhan, that I don't think it's managed well, like overall. I don't think there are systems in place to kind of channel in a meaningful way, which is why, for example, I get so many appointments. But okay, we'll stop here. Inshallah, I'll see all of you next week. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu ala khayri khalqin nabiyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam. Thank you. When we're leaving?
Sorry.